sign sheets and also turn around and make sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate.
Is it needed or is it the way you come up with it?
For the whole next day. The whole next day.
Because usually they do it doing that.
Whoops.
Meeting yesterday.
I got a meeting yesterday.
Is it a petite little one maybe? Just like that.
Just find a chair.
It hasn't been through.
I was gonna say, I can make it go down this way.
Ellen, just find a chair and push it in between you, Ed,
And you get the straight.
uh-oh, we're in trouble if we got both chucks.
Yeah, I noticed. You must be way over budget.
It is advertised at 5:30 in council chambers as far as we're concerned.
You just got, okay.
What's that?
Little video I wouldn't make.
Any others?
Not to circulate this around for sign-ins. You don't care what name I use.
Anybody need privilege of the floor? We have council here, we have the full zoning board here, present. Got the Binghamton-Johnson city representative, Clark. Okay, we got city of Binghamton council, Mr. Livingston, Ron Lake's here. Oh my God, our engineers here, we got our union reps here, and we got both Chucks here, the financial wizards of Binghamton. Okay. I guess you're both up, or whoever wants to come. Okay.
I'm just going to talk about the financials. Where am I going to stand? Basically, if anybody has any questions about the treasurer's report, I don't think there's any problem with that. And the only thing that I noticed on the financials, I'm sorry, Ron, was in the J fund, the electricity was budgeted at $1 million, and you only spent about 150 grand. I don't know if that was a. We're way behind budget on electricity.
Well, the reason for that is that we had anticipated that there would be a startup, and it hasn't happened
Right,
yet.
and
So,
there's a lot of expenses.
you know, when things start up, it really is going to take that kind of power. You know.
Okay. All right. So then then that's probably pretty much the explanation for that. Then nothing, no problems with the POs. Anybody have any questions?
You want me to do the capital project?
Yes. Would you have? I appreciate that.
Okay. In your folder, you have the chart report and the graph report. I think the chart report's in mine is kind of farther back than the graph. It shows that through the end of August, the contractual amount has remained the same, less than $270 million. The payments approved were $242 million, which is 89.7% of the total contract. When you add retainage in, it's 93.1%. And we're now up to 42 contracts with the addition of the board-funded purchase order for the emergency repairs to digesters 1 and 2. You may notice there's some minor reformatting on pages 3 and 4 of both reports, and that contract 11 is now on page 3, and that was necessary just to fit in the purchase order where it goes. Another thing that I wanted to point out in the board folder that relates to the project is a summary of our FEMA recoveries. The board's the FEMA applicant. As of late August, the FEMA had obligated $38,834,882.90 for damages from the 2011 flood. 38.3 million of that is for the large projects. The rest is for the smaller projects which are already closed out. The second page of this handout has the detail on the large projects. For the most part, the remainder of the monies, which is about a potential $15 million, the remainder of those monies would be going back to the owners net of the board's costs for achieving the recovery through Simmons, our consultant on that. So that's an update on where these stand at the present, because we haven't updated that for a while, and there were some questions from some sources. Another thing I just want to mention too is that the owners through the end of August have $35 million in grants through the state of New York. They had a 2015 Water Infrastructure Improvements Act grant, $5 million. That's split 54.8% to the city of Binghamton, 45.2% to the village of Johnson City. That's 100% drawn down and received and expended at this point. There's a October 17, 2017 intermunicipal grant, which is being used toward the solids handling improvement. That's $10 million. At this point, there's about 40% of that grant that hasn't been drawn down yet. The reason for that is the way these grants are set up. All three of these grants, we're going to talk about this number 2, is that half of the grant you're allowed to draw, the owners are allowed to draw at the beginning of the grant period, and the first half on all of these have been drawn down. The second half you have to draw down at the end of the project, and the solids handling improvement is not to the end of the project yet. So that's why at this point there's been some drawdowns, but it hasn't been fully drawn down. The third grant is the New York State Clean Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant that was awarded in July of 2018. That's in the amount of $20 million. Again, the first half of that has been drawn down. The second half, the drawdowns haven't started because the project's not close enough that it can start to draw down. I expect a lot of the remaining $10 million is going to be used to pay out the retainage at the end of the contract. Does anybody have any questions?
Do we have a copy of that?
No.
Did I get a copy of that?
There's a grant. Yeah, this one. I email it to you. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. My contact information is on pages 2 and 4 of the chart report and the graph report. If anybody thinks of any questions, just lying in bed and trying to get to sleep, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie, we might as well go to you.
We do have a request from EFPR Group for a teleconference rather than have them attend. The board agreed to that, so I will defer to call EFPR Group now to discuss the 2018 financial single audit. Started somewhere else. That's that. Let me see what I have. How to do? This is Charlie Buersall, and the board of directors of the Binghamton-Johnson City Joint Wastewater Treatment Plant is also here, and they are ready to discuss the 2018 financial audits and single audit.
I'll say a couple of upfront things, and then it's kind of time to show. This is Joe Kemp, the engagement partner. From our standpoint, the opinion is not an opinion. So that's a good thing. Basically, the financial statement is fairly. Hopefully you can hear us okay. We also did a single audit. The single audit opinion is also an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. As part of both the financial statement audit and the single audit, we did report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters. There are no findings related to that. And so there was a compliance finding a year ago related to late single audit that's been, was cleared up then. And so from that standpoint, we are good. I will point out that there should be a document hopefully in front of you called a report to board. That is our kind of our required communication document. And pretty much everything that we need to communicate to you is spelled out there. And so I'll let that, I guess, pick up from there. We do have a management letter that we also will be issuing. There's a couple of things in there. One of them is a real hot topic now, cybersecurity, because we've seen instances of hacks, and we've actually had a client subject to ransomware, and so we're kind of across the board asking our clients to really take a hard look at cybersecurity. And then there's another, I guess, a suggestion related to a new concept that's coming out. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Tom, and we'll go from there.
All right, so I'm just going to run through the tech recommendation that Joe was just speaking about. There is a new accounting standard that is going to be coming out a couple of years from now, and that relates to how the board will be accounting for capital leases, and we will work with management if they need any help in order to implement that and help them make sure that they hit all the technical requirements for that. The one large item that happened this year is there was a new standard that the board had to adhere to that is called GASB 75, which relates to the long-term health insurance. And that affects every municipality, and the board had to have a new actuary study done that was performed. Essentially what that represents is the board's present value of the long-term health insurance. So that restates that long-term liability that was due and payable today, which is approximately $5.7 million. We did perform a single audit for the board's compliance with federal awards, which is mainly the FEMA, which is the FEMA. The board spent $5.3 million of FEMA money this year in order to work on the plant in order to get that construction progress going forward. We did not have any internal control or compliance findings. Everything looked in order with the program. So really, overall, everything is consistent with the prior year. There was a few new debt issuances that was part of the building of the plant. So you will see large increases in your due to other governments, due to the other two municipalities. That increased approximately $60 million, and you will also see approximately a $80 million increase in your capital assets. Those two are directly correlated. Those really is the snapshot really the big ticket items that happened this year. That and your income statement overall was fairly consistent, same revenue streams. We didn't note anything new or we noted no oddball items this year. So we do have a few required communications that we do need to make to you, to the board. We do issue a report called the report to the board. So on that is a 3-page document. And here we say that we look at the significant estimates in order to prepare the financial statements which include your capital assets, your receivables, as well as your long-term health insurance and long-term pension. We make sure that all those are reasonable, they are comparable with other municipalities, and management is using the right assumptions. We have a comment here that we look at any disclosures and footnotes that we feel are particularly sensitive. Those include your female receivables, your long-term liabilities, which include your bonds, health insurance, and pensions, as well as any commitment contingencies that we feel might be out there. We encountered no difficulties with the audit. Management was very, very helpful. There are no uncorrected statements, as well as no disagreements with management. One of the items we will need in order to finalize the audit will be a letter we will be providing to management called Management Representation Letter. And we did not have any findings or issues that we need to bring to your attention. So right now we are at a point we are close to finalizing these reports. There's just a couple of items out there right now, a letter we have had signed by management, as well as we have communications out there with the board attorneys. I will be calling them tomorrow to make sure we get those final communications. After that, with your approval, we can finalize these reports.
With respect to the attorneys, we sent some standard letters to them asking about, litigation or pending, either actual or pending. Their first, we are allowed to get verbal updates from the attorneys, but the first response from them needs to be in writing. So we actually will reach out to them to ensure that they respond to the inquiries that we've already made. Actually, you made on our behalf in writing.
Okay. Who do you show as the board's attorney of representation?
I'm sorry?
Who do you show as the board's attorney? Just out of curiosity. Al Panasia's sitting in the desk here.
We have two attorneys that we send communications to. One of them is Al Panasia,
Okay.
and the other one is Ken Frank from Hinkley Allen.
Okay, well, he's the city's attorney, but that would be up to the board, I guess, to approve the name.
Yeah, this is
So we
Alpenicha.
sent letters in mid-July to those two, and we haven't received them back yet, and I'm going to be calling them tomorrow in order to push that along a little bit so we can get these statements finalized.
All right, this is Alpenicha. I apologize if it hasn't been sent out. Obviously, it hasn't been sent out. Give me a call tomorrow, and I will get it out to you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty pro forma type of letter that I send out every time, so it's probably just
Yeah,
a
we
cut
fully
and
expect
paste.
it. I think it's basically it's a non, there's nothing really going on from a legal standpoint that we're aware of, so they should be pretty vanilla responses. But we do, again, that is something that our auditing standards require us to do.
Okay.
And just from a timing standpoint, just so that everybody is that we have a pretty hard and fast deadline on September 30 to submit this single audit. And so, from our standpoint, what we would be looking to do is to get an approval of the financial statement drafts, followed by a signature on the rep letters, and prior to that, the responses from the attorneys.
Right, why isn't Village of Johnson City's attorney?
I was going to say, it's wrong for Ken Frank's name to be affiliated with Hinkley Allen. It should be James Barrier, B-A-R-R-I-E-R-E, 50 Pearl Street in Albany.
Okay.
He's outside counsel.
Yeah, we can certainly make those tweaks. I think we most likely, that's who responded to the letter last year, would be my guess.
I was going to say, if you set it up with Ken Frank's name on it, it probably didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
No, what Ken would normally do is send it to Jim.
No, but I think,
No,
you know,
no,
from an
no, if you
overall
send it
standpoint,
to
you know, from a numbers standpoint, I mean, what you saw on the statement of that position is, you know, assets, capital assets continue to build. You know, with the work that's being done there, the debt side of things, continue to build to basically support those capital assets. And then as Tom pointed out, you know, this year, Gadsby kind of closed the door on other post-employment benefits. You know, previously, we had been picking up a liability that was being amortized over 30 years for post retirement health insurance, and this year Gadsby said we want the rest of the liability worked out. And so you saw the liability kind of mushroom, you know, from, like $1.7 million to, $5.7 million. Every municipality or quasi-municipality out there is seeing that, and what, the end result is what you see is, there's a direct impact on that position or equity, because, we did a big adjustment as of the beginning of the year to kind of true that up to, I think it was $3.5 million, and so that basically went direct to equity to reflect the beginning change in that liability. From an operational standpoint, as Tom pointed out, you're up, this year you had about a $7.8 million operating gain, so that your bottom line this year was about $15.3 million, as opposed to about $13 million a year ago. And again, so positive numbers operationally. Cash flow is kind of a cash flow is, basically, there's, a fair amount of debt repayment that goes on, and so, what you see is dollars coming in and dollars going out to acquire capital assets, and then basically debt reduction. From a footnote standpoint, there's lots of pages of footnotes. Most of the footnotes are for the most part a carry forward of what was there before. I just kind of highlight some particularly important ones, that we kind of indicated in our required communication letter. But there is a footnote on page 19 that just talks about the fact that we did the implementation of the new pronouncement for post-employment health insurance. On page 21, there's a rather substantial footnote that talks about grants receivable. It covers about, almost a full page. Another footnote that talks about the FEMA grants, as well as a reconciliation that goes through for each identifier that ties out to the balance sheet. That's there for both years. There's a rather extensive footnote on page 26 and the top of page 27 that talks about capital assets. It really shows the dollars that are going in, in terms of construction in progress. Again, at the end of the day, then those balances tie back up to the statement of net position. Another extensive footnote on, the notes, the bonds that are in place. Again, this year, if you turn to page 29 and 30, there's a new footnote related to other post-employment benefits. Again, with all the required disclosures that are there. Again, like was done on the pension side of the liability, pension side, there on page 31 is some sensitivity analysis, which basically means, whenever I see sensitivity analysis in footnotes, that means that the numbers are more art than science. And what it's saying is that we've got a $5.7 million pension or other post-employment benefit liability that if things change 1% in either direction could grow, exponentially or be reduced exponentially. So again, we've got the same kind of sensitivity analysis on the pension side of things. Our pension obligation, our piece of the New York State pension system liability is relatively small. In the big picture, you know, we've only got a $239,000 pension liability reflected. Because again, New York State does a fairly good job of making sure that there are sufficient assets to cover those obligations. And then I think the last really thing that I wanted to highlight was, you know, what shows up on the bottom of page 39 and the top of page 40, and that's just the cumulative effect. As Tom indicated, you know, we did a GASB 75 implementation. We actually did an implementation as of the beginning of the year. So last year's numbers more or less got restated, and so that's what will be reflected there. I think from our standpoint, you know, the engagement went the way we expected. You know, we developed an audit plan on the upfront standpoint. We hope to execute the audit plan. Sometimes, you know, you end up going sideways on an audit because, you know, something pops up that we weren't expecting. That did not occur. I think the engagement went the way we expected it to go. We were able to execute the audit. Management is very helpful in providing that. So, you know, from your standpoint, as board members, it's good for you to know that you've got a good team in place out there, generating the numbers that you see throughout the year, and that we're auditing at the end of the year. That's really kind of all I want to say. I don't know if anybody has any questions. We'd be happy to at least attempt to answer them.
Yeah, he's addressed one. I make a motion if that's all right.
Oh, no, you make a motion, I just want to know if anybody had a question. Okay, I guess we don't.
I make a motion that we accept the draft financial statements in the form presented, plus the 3 items that were addressed in an email of 11:40 a.m. this morning, plus the other items discussed on this call, and instruct our auditors to go ahead and do the work to complete and finalize the audit report so that it can be filed with the Federal Clearinghouse not later than September 30th, 2019.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion?
Yes. You said 3 items. I thought you had 4 items.
Right. Well, the second item of the 4th about the health insurance retirees, that included other post-employee benefits for the actuarial report.
It was someplace else in the...
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that number was correct, but and as Tom pointed out in his email, I think you were copied on his email, but you might not have seen it yet. The difference when you go to page 45 in the table, it's in that line. The $465,713 is on that health insurance retirees line. And again, that results from the actuarial valuation report.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried 501.
All right, thank you. Tom and Joe?
No.
Thank you. We'll be working on getting everything finalized and reviewing. Thank you.
Yep, send it to me and I'll forward it as we get it.
Look, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. You can stop your business now.
Yep. In your packets, there's a financial business.
You can stop.
Oh, all right.
We'll turn around and get back to you. It's at 4 o'clock.
Oh, I didn't see John.
It's 4 o'clock, so John LaGorga.
Good afternoon. I'll just give a brief update of the WQIP project. Essentially, all the excavation and reforming of the south side of the river, the channel, is complete, and JV Excavation is now in the process of reestablishing the islands, and if you look out there today, you can see it's now one continuous island where there used to be 2 islands. So it's looking pretty good. At the beginning of this week, he started to install the engineered log jams, the ones that are going in per design. So if you look out there, you'll see two of the log jams, basically with the vertical piles sticking out. There's probably 10 vertical piles sticking out of each log jam.
Looks like you're gonna have a little pot there.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but so those vertical pieces.
Just like our new lawn out there.
Yeah,
You see that?
yeah, it's
Right.
great. But yeah, those vertical piles will be interlocked with logs. And yeah, so progress is going as planned. Other than the changed condition out there where one of the islands was more eroded than we thought, than when we did the survey. Yes?
The design change,
Yes.
where is that? Because I went out and asked him today if he got it yet, and he said no.
Okay, and who did you talk to? Was it James White or?
No, not,
Right.
I talked to the
Oh,
contractor.
okay,
Jim.
right. So James Shoemaker, they are in the process of designing those. So you'll see that there's JB excavation is starting in the middle with the log jams because those are unchanged. And it's the downstream ones and the upstream ones. So they are in the process of doing those designs.
I would hate to see for the design change to hold up anything he's doing out there. You know, he's got a limited time.
Yes, agreed. And I will make sure that Shoemaker gets that message loud and clear. The plan is that they are designing as he's building the ones in the middle. And by the time JB excavation gets to the upstream and downstream ones, the design will be.
There's no hold up with I mean, as far as our end, right?
No.
Do we need to do anything for that?
Well, it would make Shoemaker feel a lot better if their amendment was, or we haven't given you a formal amendment through GHD, but you're sitting with Shoemaker's proposed amendment, and that's going to be a direct pass-through. So the costs you see associated with their design work will just pass through us as an amendment, so there won't be any additional cost. So it would make them feel better that they're proceeding with the design work if that's approved tonight.
Just let him build it and you do an as-built on it. That's be quicker.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't think there's going to be.
Because I think he's got the idea.
Yeah, understood, right. I don't think that their design includes a lot of heavy drawings, right. I think there's going to be much just communicated out in the field.
So that's where the extra material's going to go, because Barney and Dick says you stopped hauling in and that stuff.
Well, that's right. Originally, there was going to be an excess of cut material that was going to be deposited at Barney and Dick's. I have been in touch with them. Actually, now it does look like there will be some excess cut that is brought to Barney and Dick's.
Okay.
But not as much as we originally thought.
So I told
And a
him.
fair amount of that is being used to rebuild the island that was more eroded.
So what can we do?
Yep.
What can we do to hasten this?
Actually, I think that Shoemaker felt confident that the board was going to approve the amendment, and they proceeded with the design. So I don't think the board, again, I think the board taking an action tonight to approve in some form the amendment will make them feel better, but it's not going to stop them. We're proceeding ahead with
Is that on our agenda?
That's what I'm looking here to see.
It's not in the folder.
I don't have anything
But we've all received it.
Okay, no, that's unfortunate, because I was in communication with Michelle.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I thought
I
she said it was
turned around
going to
and
be-
told her.
Do we need something? I mean, can we?
I mean, did you read it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I gave John comments and he got them addressed.
It's a nice one.
I'm comfortable making a motion
If
if you
you're
want.
comfortable, we'll trust you with the reading.
Okay. I've read it. And
I make a motion to approve and to direct the chairman pro tem to execute the amendment agreement with Shoemaker in the form that was presented in the August 16th version of the letter.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, 501.
Thank you. And just
Is there anything else you needed on that, John?
No, not
One
on-
motion does it, right?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
that's fine. I think that will make them feel better, but again, they're proceeding with the design, with the idea of not holding JB excavation up at all.
Good.
And I will let them know that the board is concerned.
I'm sure by my conversation, they're already
I
building it.
don't have a copy of it, I'll have to check my email. It wasn't in what I was presented to. And Michelle isn't in, so she gave me what was going to be in here today.
I'm gonna need it to do that amendment.
Yeah. Can somebody forward it to Al? If I
John, can you forward that?
Yeah, in fact, I have it opened on my phone right now, so I can forward that file to Charlie. Yep, as soon as I sit down, I'll do that. And then just to give you an update on, so there will be a change order associated with basically creating more island than was in the design drawings. And right now, we're valuing that at about $55,000. That doesn't include a potential credit for the hauling. Right? So he did save on hauling and being able to use the material to build more island than more. So the $55,000 is an upshot number. I think as the work advances this month, we'll come to you next month with a more formal change order.
Well, the weather's treated them kindly.
Very kindly, yes. It's been a really good
So
work.
do we give credit for controlling the weather?
Yeah.
We'll put that into the negotiations.
Don't speak too soon.
Yeah,
Right.
I know,
Well-
exactly. I've been trying to be silent on that because as soon as we start talking about it, we're going to get
Better read tomorrow.
But, yeah, so the water elevations have stayed low and he's been able to make some good progress.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm all set. Thank you.
No, you're not.
Nope, okay.
No, now you're gonna, because I'm gonna move things around, because I know you wanna go. Jason's supposed to be here at 4:30.
Yes, he is.
I wanna turn around, we've got moving of the lab.
Yes.
Okay, we wanna get into that. I'd like Steve to sort of head that a little bit and that stuff. Want to know, Ron Lake is here so we can discuss it.
If we're gonna discuss it, I wanna do it in executive session. It's gonna involve legal and personnel.
I don't believe it has to.
Then I'm not gonna discuss it.
Well,
Maybe I can forward this a little. If we just talk about where we are in a design. Do we have a design?
Yes, the design was complete at bidding. So nothing has changed in the design.
Okay, this design, is it gonna satisfy Lincoln? Has he seen the design, or?
Yeah, he has seen the final design. Right?
Okay.
What's out there right now is work in progress and means and methods.
All right. What I'm looking for is Lincoln signing off on something. I mean, he's a code enforcement officer. If he signs off or he agrees to it verbally, I don't care. He assumes the liability. So if we're talking about liability, it's got to meet a code. He's the code enforcement officer. If he's satisfied that it meets the code, as far as I'm concerned, he's assuming the liability and we can move forward. I just want to know where the design is. I hadn't heard anything. I know there was some talk, we had to change.
The firewall.
Yeah, all he wanted, he wanted a 1 hour wall, fire alarm, and telephone. That's correct?
I agree with that, and I believe the way that communication came down was he verbalized that to us.
Right.
I believe I put it back to him in an email.
Yep.
And he responded
Right.
positive.
Right. I mean, to satisfy everyone, and this is just my own opinion, but maybe Al can say something, but we're looking for who's assuming the liability. Now, we want to get this moved as soon as possible, and it's safely, and, we want to get it done. We got to move forward on the other half of the lab, obviously, right? So I understand moving has started. Last week we had a meeting and kind of set up a little timetable, right? On what was gonna happen when, or,
I'm not party to that.
all right. What was it, last Wednesday?
When did you start your move on the bigger stuff to get in, because they gotta get the bigger
Last
stuff in
week.
before they build the
Yeah,
wall.
last week we started moving bigger things in, because they have to be moved before they start that wall, because we won't get them in after that.
Yeah, we were discussing, cleaning and, the electric, panel box was gonna be, an annoyance. You still had to have access to that, and the, everyone that was a party to all of this was sitting at the table and they're trying to decide, you know, how to proceed. And as far as I know, it started. Me personally, I wanna know where the liability is. If Lincoln has assumed the liability, has he seen a drawing that he's satisfied with? You know where we are with that? I mean, I understand the concept, and he agreed to the concept, and
I believe he wants to see a stamp drawing. Now, looking at your face, I assume that there is no such thing now, right?
We have not, I didn't know he was looking for a stamped drawing.
well, whether or not it's stamped,
Yeah,
and, you know, I don't know how he does business.
right.
But if he's gonna assume the liability, he's the one that said this is what he wants. Obviously, he's gonna wanna see, he did say to us that day he wanted to see a drawing.
I do remember that, and I remember it, my memory serves me right, he talked about a sketch, right? It
Yes.
seemed to be pretty informal.
Yes.
So it's news to me that they're looking for a stamp drawing.
Well, that may be just something I made up.
Oh, okay.
But,
There is a drawing that was communicated to the contractor that shows what Lincoln was looking
all right, but my point is that he's the one that has to accept the concept and say it's all right to go. He's the one he's the code enforcement officer. He's the one that assumes liability. That's where we gotta go, right? I'm asking your opinion, He's the guy we gotta make happy with.
Sure. You know, we should talk to Lincoln again about what his expectations are and if he's willing to accept the liability.
Well, if he says it's all right, he does. I mean, that's code enforcement 101. That's what we get taught in all the courses we take.
And there's an issue on the cleaning of that room, brought to the attention now. Quandell turned around and said they did it once, that was it. Now we understand that PC Construction was using it for a lunchroom. You got your hand up?
Yeah, we cleaned it. It's good. It's not an issue.
Oh, we cleaned it now, okay. That was an issue a little while ago.
Yep, we cleaned it.
Right, okay. So where do we go now? Do we get something like a sketch so we could hand to them, and have those things been done yet?
I don't think there's been any further communication with Lincoln since.
Well, I'm talking about the fire alarm system and that. Is that all done?
It's all done.
I don't know what the status is.
My understanding is that's all done.
We have 2 numbers and wires terminated
Okay.
for the lab.
Okay. So the only thing that has
Everybody checked it?
the only thing that has to put up now is the firewall,
We
correct?
have a contract with Davis Homer, a monitoring contract with them.
With who?
Davis Homer.
What, they're the fire system?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're testing.
That might also be something Lincoln wants.
Well, I'm sure he's gonna have to turn around one of the.
If he said he wants the fire alarm and the telephone, he's gonna want to see it work, or somebody has to see
Wasn't
it
that
work.
in place when he was there?
I don't think it was. I think those were the three things that he asked for.
Yeah.
Fire alarm, telephone, or the fire.
They might be the same.
Yeah.
So if
I think it is one of the same.
if we bring them down here for the certification of it and that stuff, we've gotta have the firewall and make sure everything they ask for is there.
Yeah, but we're not building, they're moving the big stuff before they actually.
Well, we know that,
install the wall.
that I know, but
So
for
we
his
gotta get
certification.
it to a certain point.
So how long before you think you're gonna get the big stuff in?
The hood's been moved. I think all that's left is one incubator.
How long do you think that'll take?
By the end of the
Incubator
week,
would be
by the end of the
done in
week.
2 hours. The problem has been running the power, because it was never intended to have twice as much equipment in the new side, so we had to run some power.
All right.
And we also had to run some temporary power for like the muffle furnace to remain in the old lab, because it was powered from the hood that had to move. So it's just been setting up some temporary power for the equipment and moving the large stuff. And the incubator will be over tomorrow, and the scale calibration happens next week, and so we're on schedule.
Easier Monday.
Monday. So
Ron, do you know if they're gonna start building the wall? Do they have a schedule for any of that?
They do have a schedule.
Would you mind telling us what the schedule is?
As soon as they're moved. But the question is, will you occupy it? Because we don't know that Lincoln is ever going to give us anything in writing.
He's gotta come and look at it.
He did. He told us. He told us what he wanted.
He told us what he wanted.
Right. Doesn't he have to come back to make sure you did what he wanted?
That's my assumption.
Right. So you're the understanding that we want something in writing?
Which I don't know that we're going to get
From who?
from Lincoln.
I don't, if he comes over
Hey,
and
if
looks
he
at
comes
it
over
and
and looks at it
and
and
says,
says,
that's what I wanted, we're done.
yeah. Board definitely has no problem with anything else. As long as we get the blessings from him, fine. You know, but not looking for, but normally if he comes over and says it's all right, he normally does sign and give you a
That's up to him.
certificate of occupancy.
Well, we're not even looking for a certificate of occupancy because it's a partial, and most places, you can't get a partial.
If you just get his blessing that you
Right.
did everything he
Right.
asked you to do,
Right.
then you're good to go.
Yeah.
He laid out the conditions. If it comes back and we meet the conditions, we can move.
Right. They're anxious to move. So.
Well, the sooner you get the wall built, so you can bring him back and look at it and say, here's the phone line, here's the alarm, and here's the firewall.
Right. But
Are we good? And if he
I'm
says,
sure you-
okay,
Right.
that's what I asked for, then you should be good to go.
Except
If
for
all
the-
that happens, it's wonderful. But if he refuses to say or bless it,
Well, we won't know that until you build the wall.
that's right. And then where are you?
How soon can we turn it over for him to build a wall?
tomorrow.
What time tomorrow?
We'll move the incubator first thing, and that's the last of the large items. The rest of them,
Okay, by 10 o'clock in the morning, it'll be ready for you to build the wall. Okay?
Yeah,
You said 2 hours.
When is the wall done?
Yeah.
That's your,
Yeah.
when is the wall done? Not when it starts.
Well, we're not building the wall, that's up to them.
Correct.
But the other thing you gotta do is make sure that the fire sprinkler people turn around and do the testing on the fire alarm system. Anybody else got anything for John? No? Okay. Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
You got a better smile on your face. this afternoon than you did this morning. Okay, since Jason isn't here yet, Charlie, I guess you can continue
All
on.
right, there will be a business meeting. Manager report, which should be about the same as on the agenda. We're still waiting on jar testing, but we should be imminent on that because we now have something for them to test. So, the DEC penalty, I did generate a check for all 3 portions of that. There's been some discussion whether we have achieved it. It was mailed, so we may or may not have a credit with them, depending how that works out. We received 3 checks, they're in your folders. These are settlements from Midway Industries, and they go back to Bernie Titus and Shane Guilford. I'm not exactly sure, so I recommended to the city that they put them under recapture of prior year's expenses. The total of the 3 of them is $400.67. There's no mention of what, and I didn't find where Midway Industries had been a vendor for anything for us, but I'm glad they accepted money since they did mention people by name. It doesn't appear to be even added. WQIP, we've already discussed. He's charging ahead. He's put in pay application number 3, which I am reviewing now and should get through. So he seems to be charging ahead. Methanol bids will be received on the 13th at 2 o'clock. And to approve those, in order that we can actually get an order in, the board will have to have a special meeting sometime before the next regular scheduled meeting. So I would encourage them to set up one tonight. There may be some overflow items tonight. So, we'll kill 2 birds.
So is that right now on track to receive methanol?
Everything, as far as I know, is waiting on certification from GHD, which is left. Isolate?
Yeah, sorry.
The methanol tank certification, that was,
Yep, I have it drafted. I could send it tomorrow if need be.
at this point, it's not holding any.
Yeah, right. I will issue it at the latest possible date. I have a condition in it. There's hosing associated with the pumps that have bends that are too tight, and the contractor is replacing that hosing. It can receive methanol as is, but if it happens that they can get the work done before I need to issue that letter, I'd rather just have that deleted out of the letter.
Okay.
So
At this
I'm
point,
holding
we
off.
have created no delays in anything that.
I just want to make sure the board is on the same thing. Because the last I knew, and the last meeting that I was with, that Jacobs was going to buy the methanol. And I think that it would have gone back to the city, and then the city would have turned around and billed us for it. And is that the way it's still working, or is it something different?
I have repeatedly stated that I cannot buy methanol unless we go through the bid process. So they had claimed that they were going to buy the methanol, which I think was they were going to order it and have it shipped here for us to pay for. But it hasn't happened. So.
I don't think, now I could be wrong, but at one of the construction meetings, I thought he told us, I asked him, and this is Jerry,
Yes.
point blank, if, you know, we should go out to bid, and he said, definitely, he was not really interested in buying the stuff. He wanted us to go through the process.
Yep. So
Which we're doing.
That's when yeah, exactly. That's when I began our regular bid process.
But I believe the way it was supposed to work, that at the meeting that I was at, that Jerry was buying the first load first, because it was supposed to be filled right now.
That was if we didn't have time to do this process. We have time to do our process.
And that's when we did clear it with Kruger, that yes, we have time in their opinion. And
Yeah.
everybody's very happy with that.
So the deadline is when Kruger says we want methanol.
You gotta have.
We need it.
Who was at the meeting with Jerry Nystrom and myself at the construction meeting where he turned around, and I know you were, okay? And didn't they say they were buying the methanol, the first tanker coming in?
Only if we didn't have a plan in place.
Right, because I'm sure what has been said is that they will buy it, but they want the city to reimburse them, and the city's going to back charge the board.
Yeah.
there you go. But that was only gonna happen
If we didn't have the
didn't have
contract already set.
Yeah, we move forward.
So, in terms of set up the contract, does like a Tuesday special meeting next week on the 17th at 4 o'clock work for everybody on the board, or is that a bad day and we should look at a different day?
We can take a poll,
Well, I did some
I mean, I think we ought to set that.
Well, no, that's what I'm trying to get into discussion, because I just want to know which way it's going, and that stuff.
The bid opening is this Friday too, right, Charlie?
Yep.
I'm out of town on Tuesday.
Okay,
I'm here on Monday.
We'll make it Thursday.
be back on Thursday?
Well, how long are you going for?
Until.
When's the meeting?
Yeah.
Have we got time to advertise it for Monday?
Yes. You've got more than 2 because it goes out first thing tomorrow. I don't know if Michelle's in tomorrow.
I think
Time
so.
on Monday.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Ron, you write that down in your calendar, 4 o'clock.
I don't know. Monday.
16th, correct.
So how long do you think it's gonna take the contractor, so we know roughly when to get this vent all in?
Do you have a rough idea when Kruger's gonna run it?
John,
It's based on what the biology does. Once you start nitrifying
intrinsically safe wiring.
and our nitrates start going
I
up,
was told
They're
today
gonna need-
that work was completed.
What's that?
Might be good to have, put your eyes on. I know you're not inspecting work, but
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to have on that,
That's why I have Tuesday. Don't go out of your way for Monday,
You're the one
He
that
he
asked.
obviously isn't gonna beat it. Set it up for whenever you want.
Yeah, okay.
well, we need to make sure that it works for everybody else. Work for you, Ray?
What day are we on now, Ed? Don't confuse me.
Tuesday.
I think we started with Tuesday, but we were thinking about Monday for Steve, but if Steve doesn't need that, then I suggest we consider Tuesday. The other thing that I want to ask you on this agenda also, if the comptroller is ready, and I think he's almost ready, is the 2018 final billing to the municipalities. Staff accountant told me today he made the final changes on that and gave it to Chuck Sugar to bless it so it can be sent out in advance for everybody to look at. No, I know that.
Okay.
You know, he hasn't had a chance to look at it, that's why I went back to the office. He's very busy, budget season, there has a budget speech on Thursday, blah, blah, blah.
So the 13th is what day?
Friday.
Friday the 13th.
This
No.
Wow.
There's
Yeah.
a 911 if you want.
Did you miss your appointment?
No.
All right. So next week, Tuesday then?
I don't know if that's how
Well, you'll be here unless you have another hurt day. All right, so we're gonna set up.
Monday, okay, but Tuesday's not.
We already discussed the 2018 Sonata.
This is a point of order. Laura Lee pointed out she can't be here Tuesday, but she could be here Monday.
I'm sorry, guys.
How's Wednesday?
Wednesday's good too.
Okay, let's make it a
I
Wednesday.
can't do Wednesday. So back to Monday.
How about Sunday morning after church?
No, we don't want to do that. So we'll do it 4 p.m. Monday the 16th here. Right. And that would be, to also include that
Wait a second.
item, that I mentioned about the final bill if it's ready. And carryover items from this meeting, because
Okay.
we gotta go downtown.
Hey Charlie, can you send me those on Friday then? Right. I don't think I've received the final specs that went out either. I'd like to look at those.
Don't order any methanol until the fire department signs off.
Oh, God.
Well, that's been the whole thing right along until I get everybody's smiling
You do
faces.
the bid, he just doesn't
Yeah.
have to.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll add, my certificate, right, is specifically related to